Remember, birthing better was developed equally by fathers and mothers. We have different, equally important roles. As women, we're the only ones giving birth, and fathers or others who are a birth coach, their job as a birth coach is to help us cope and manage, work through, deal with, handle, stay on top of, and feel in control. Women want to have a vaginal birth after a cesarean for innumerable reasons. One is, since the 1980s, when we had choices, there also came with those choices an ideology, which actually had been around in the Lamaze and the Bradley era of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, which was separating out low-risk births from high-risk births. The reality is that birthing better families, majority of us were medically high risk. And so in the early 70s, we were already dealing with the fact that our births were being disregarded by those who were having low-risk normal pregnancies and births. And that wasn't okay. We wanted to do something for our birth, and we decided to learn skills so that each of us could use birth and birth coaching skills to work through our baby's birth journey, because it's always an activity that we have to do. So in this lesson, there are a lot of MP3 files or audio files that really talk about why women want to have a VBAC, how desperate women are, the questions of, will a VBAC harm my baby, if you can have a VBAC after multiple cesareans, and the art of successful VBAC. And also, believe it or not, obstetricians do want you to achieve a VBAC. The reason that obstetricians wanted you to achieve a VBAC has to do with what happened in the 1970s, when they saw multiple millions of women and fathers coming into births in the 60s and 70s using Lamaze skills and Bradley skills. So for the first time in the history of childbirth, there were some skills, and obstetricians and labor delivery nurses saw millions of women coping better and fathers really helping. Because women behaved better, that's not like be a good little girl. It means we coped better, we managed better, rather than to feel overwhelmed. Skills gave us that ability, and that reflected on how other people saw us. So if people saw us coping well, instead of, they were much more tolerant of our birth experience and were more likely to let us continue rather than to feel that they should step in and try to save us from suffering. Because that's the other pathway, risk and suffering. Women suffered in childbirth. They didn't have skills. The reality is, and I'm going to tell you that Marjorie 2, TW, has done all the research, no matter the risk factors, multiple risk factors, there is zero correlation, really, between how easily a baby gets out of your body and how well you cope and manage with the labor or second stage. So that means separating low risk from high risk has created this oppositional approach to childbirth. Birthing better families included all births. Let me give you another word of wisdom from all the families who taught me. Once choices became available to us, we would spend hours and hours and hours in our pregnancy researching, making decisions, just like we did if we had a wedding. Every little detail was going to be planned. We spent hundreds of hours doing that. It takes 100% less time. Let me repeat that, maybe 1,000% less time to learn skills. You can learn birthing better skills in 5 to 15 minutes a day for 16 weeks. And the reality is choices can go right out the window. We have to do the activity of birthing our baby. So it's ultimately our lack of skills or our using the skills that we have that will lead to either another cesarean or a vaginal birth after a cesarean.